Ladies and gentlemen, the matter of People versus Pursehouse, I thoroughly apologize to you. We had a sentencing this morning. We got started early before you got here, and it took a long time. We had this courtroom filled with family members and other people and so forth, and I couldn't hurry them along, and I apologize to you. It involved 3 defendants, so it took some time. I didn't think it would take that long, so I'm sorry for making you wait. All right, but we are prepared to go forward in this matter. Counsel, you may call your next witness.
People call. They're getting a witness right now, Your Honor.
Who is it?
This is going to be the custodian of records for Verizon,
All right,
Melissa Sandoval.
thank you. All right, Ms. Sandoval, if you can approach the witness stand down here, please. If you could raise your right hand. I'm going to give it a crack here. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony that you're about to give in the case now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So I hope you got it.
I do.
Okay, who needs my clerk? I could do this just as easy. You can take your seat there, please. If you could state your first and last name, spelling both for the record. Thank you.
Melissa Sandoval, MELISSA SANDOVAL.
Okay, Ms. Sandoval, if you can lean into the microphone because you kind of have a light voice, if you would, okay? Thank you. All right, counsel.
Yes, Ms. Sandoval, please tell the jury what it is that you do for a living.
Good morning. I work for Verizon Wireless. I am a senior analyst with the executive relations team.
What is a senior analyst?
So my duties as a senior analyst include appearing as a custodian of records. I also handle small claims litigation, arbitrations, and agency and executive disputes.
And as a custodian of records for Verizon, what kind of training experience have you received to conduct the duties of a custodian of records?
So we go through training with our Verizon Security Assistance team. We partner and shadow other members of that team. We also have trainings periodically throughout the year to ensure that we keep our skill set up. And then we deal with these records on a daily basis.
So are you able to, like, for example, if someone were to issue a subpoena, whether it's a prosecution, defense, or civil attorney, if they issue a subpoena for phone records, are you then able to retrieve the phone records from Verizon and send them those records to that individual?
That's correct. Our Verizon Security Assistance team actually handles the production, and then our team handles the appearance portion of the request.
And did your company receive a search warrant for records for 477623 on or about February 1st, 2021?
Yes, we did.
And pursuant to that search warrant, did Verizon provide records related to that phone number on or about February 4th, 2021, about 3 days later?
Yes, we did.
And have you reviewed those records that were provided by Verizon to the Los Angeles Police Department?
I have.
How recently have you reviewed those records?
I reviewed them again this morning.
Okay. And would you authenticate those as records that were kept in the custody of Verizon?
Yes.
And were they kept in the normal course of business?
Yes.
And how are they safeguarded, or where are they stored within Verizon?
They're stored electronically. The records are pulled from our switch, and they're used primarily for billing purposes and troubleshooting.
And are these records generated? For example, if someone makes a call, a record will be generated and Verizon will keep that record.
Yes.
And are these records reliable?
Yes, they are.
And did you provide the records for Amie Harwick's phone that I just indicated to LAPD?
Yes, we did.
And did you verify that that number, 626-347-7623, that the subscriber for that number was Amie Harwick?
Yes, I did.
And was the search date that was requested from January 1st, 2020 to February 15, 2020?
Yes, it was.
So whatever Verizon had as far as records for those search dates, that was provided to Los Angeles Police Department.
Yes, it was.
And is that provided via email in a zip file?
Typically, that would be how it was presented.
And if someone has Amie Harwick's cell phone number, and they have a subpoena to subpoena these records, would you only provide them to law enforcement, or would you also provide them to civil attorneys and defense attorneys also?
They would be provided to those attorneys as well, as long as they followed the proper procedure.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Do you have the records in front of you?
I do not.
Do you know whether the records that received showed any calls in February 2020?
There were calls in 2020 that I reviewed.
And was there anything in January of 2020?
We did not have any January 2020 information for call records.
You didn't have that.
Not at the time the request was made. Those records had been purged.
So whatever records of those calls in January 2020 had been purged and no longer existed.
As far as the call detail records, yes, there would be calls reflected on a billing statement, but not the actual call detail records.
And did the record request you received ask for the call detail records?
That's correct.
Do you know whether the Verizon records show only VO LTE, voice over LTE, as opposed to not traditional voice calls made over the cell network?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Do you mean VoLTE versus 3G records?
Yes.
3G versus 4G?
Yes.
We have 3G and 4G record information.
All right. Did those records include anything other than the VoLTE records?
I believe there was a file labeled 3G. I can't recall specifically what was on that file, but the records request would have included any type of call detail records, regardless of whether they were 3G or 4G.
All right. Thank you. I have nothing further.
Redirect.
I have nothing further.
All right, you may step down. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Welcome.
Recall Detective Scott Masterson.
All right. Detective, just a reminder, you're under oath still?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Are we ready?
Thank you. Masterson, I believe we left off, we talked about the statue with the broken arm, correct?
Yes,
And now I have another series of photographs, A through D. Would this be marked people's next in order?
Good. 83, I believe.
83, thank you. Looking here at people 83. See that there?
yes,
Is that the back of the statue next to a wooden fence?
yes,
And looking at photograph B, is that also another photograph of the back of the statue and that wooden fence?
yes,
And there appears to be like a photo ID number 10 over there.
yes,
Is that actually on a chain link fence?
yes,
Looking at photograph C, does that show photo ID number 10, the wood fence and where the chain link fence begins?
yes,
And did you direct someone to swap that particular location?
yes, I did.
Why did you do that?
But I believe that the defendant made entrance and climbed over that fence. And so I wanted to swab it for DNA.
So you thought maybe someone touched it with their hand when they jumped over?
Correct, climbed over, yes.
Well, what if they're wearing gloves, in your experience, would that leave DNA?
Objection, relevance, foundation.
Oh,
You know, it's probably, it's less likely, but there's a possibility from handling the gloves, there could be touch DNA.
Looking at photograph D, is this a picture of the swab for that part of the chain link fence?
Yes,
Now, when I get to the next photograph, now you mentioned that the log, there were 2 logs started for that particular location. Is that correct?
yes,
And we discussed one log that started at about 5 a.m., correct?
yes.
Is that the interior crime scene log?
That's there's an exterior and an interior crime scene log, 2 logs.
So is that for the interior log?
Yes,
Okay, and then is there a perimeter exterior crime scene log?
yes.
Okay, and is that one started at 1:25 in the morning?
Yeah, 1:25, 1:27 a.m. Yes.
And so why do they have different times? The exterior log's at 1:25 and the interior one's at 5 a.m.
Objection, relevance.
So the exterior log basically covers, in this case, the outside of the house. And that log was started earlier at 1:27. Once it was determined that this was a homicide scene, they started the exterior log at 1:27, I believe it was, with the first units that arrived to the 911 call.
Objection, foundation.
in terms of the first units arriving?
In terms of why they were creating this log, he wasn't there until 5.
What, are you, well, get into that, find out.
Well, are you familiar with these crime scene logs?
Yes, I am,
How often do you use these crime scene logs?
at every crime scene.
Okay. Go ahead. So why are these crime scene logs created this way?
Okay, and then we have what that we refer to as the interior crime scene. And that's going to be even more restrictive. We're not going to just let officers go through. We want to keep it as pristine as possible. So they started an interior crime scene log at about 0500, corresponding to about the same time that I arrived.
And prior to 0500, is it your understanding the officers don't know exactly what has occurred yet?
Exactly. They don't know if this is going to be a homicide scene. The victim is transported. So everything's kind of in limbo for a little bit.
And you said you start having photographs taken of various items that you think they may or may not be relevant to the particular case.
Correct.
Now, I have another series of photographs showing an iron cast pan. Just mark people's next in order.
84.
84, photograph A and B. Can you tell us what is shown here on 84?
Yes, just to the right of the photo ID placard number 11, there is a black, I believe it's a cast iron skillet or pan.
Let me show you a photograph B of this exhibit. Is that a close-up of that?
Yes, it is.
All right, and going back to A, and that has a property item number 31.
Yes,
And is that the item number, was that item booked as item 31?
yes.
And so this cast iron skillet pan, do you know where it was found?
Yes, I do.
Where was that?
Objection, relevance. That's this piece of evidence.
I'm sorry, relevance?
That's this piece of evidence.
Well, that's my point. I want to know where it was found and the reason why they photographed.
Okay, go ahead.
So why was this photographed?
So it was located at the next door neighbor's house. The owner of the property pointed it out to me
Objection,
specifically.
hearsay.
Overruled because he undertook some action in terms of securing that. Once he pointed it out to you, I take it you then took it into your possession?
Yes.
Okay, overruled.
So what did he say to you that made you want to take that cast iron skillet into your possession?
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled.
He said it wasn't his. He didn't know where that came from.
And so then you decided based on that, you just to be safe, you'll collect.
Correct. It'd be easier to take it and not need it, and then later on find out that it played a role in the investigation and I didn't have it.
Looking at the photograph showing what appears to be French doors from the interior, may this be marked people's number 85?
Yes.
Can you tell us what is shown there?
So this is in the interior of the residence, the French doors that open up into the living room. And you can see the bottom of the door on the left from this perspective. The bottom of the door or the window glass has been broken out.
Okay. Do you know why in some photographs it appears like it hasn't been broken out, and on this one it appears broken out?
I don't. I couldn't tell you why.
You don't know if someone moved it in a certain way?
Possibly it was moved and the glass continued to fall. The pieces fell off of it because it was broken.
I have another series of two photographs showing close-ups of photo ID numbers 12 and 14. May this be marked as people's 86.
Yes.
Looking at people's 86. Is that a close-up of photo ID numbers 12 and 14?
Yes.
And looking at photograph B, is that a close-up of photo ID 12 on the French doors?
Yes.
And what did you see there that day as far as photo ID number 12?
There's a red stain on the wood, the white painted wood.
Objection, false or circulation.
He said it's a red stain. That's a speculation.
But it's a stain. How do you know it's a stain?
Well, we want him to call it a mark, a smudge. He's got to characterize it somehow. All right, overruled.
What did it appear to you? Well, you've seen blood before at different locations.
Yes.
Would you say when investigating hundreds of homicides, you've seen blood at crime scenes?
Yes.
And what did this appear to you to be, photo ID number 12?
To me, it looked like dried blood.
And did you have a criminalist swab it?
Yes.
And was this, did you see him? Did you see that criminalist swab it?
Yes, I did.
And did you have that criminalist identify that item as property item number 2?
Item 12. Photo
I'm sorry.
item 12.
No, the photo ID number 12.
Yes.
But what's the property ID?
Oh, the property, I'm sorry, the property number,
item number.
number 2.
Just to go back to 86B, can you describe for the jury what you observed as far as how that what appeared to you to be a blood stain was swabbed?
How the criminalist swabbed it?
Yes.
They use the same type of method where they have a cotton swab, but when it's a dried stain, it will use some purified water to moisten the tip, and then rub it onto the stain, and thereby collect a portion of the stain, and then they'll package it, and it'll be booked and processed.
And is that what you observed? on
Hold
this
on, there's an
occasion?
objection. Yes.
Hearsay foundation.
Okay. How do you know that that's what they did, sir?
I was there and I watched them do it.
Okay, overruled.
Thank you. Looking at people, another series of photographs, 3 photographs of A through C, they just be marked as people's number
87.
87. Looking here at 87, does this show the French doors and part of the living room with a placard over to the left?
Yes.
Let's looking at 87B. Does that show photo ID placard number 13 on the living room floor,
Yes.
close to the French doors?
Yes.
Looking at photograph C, is that a close-up of what you were trying to identify in photo ID 13?
Yes. Just right in front of the placard.
And why did you have them take a photograph of this location?
This was again another red stain that was on the floor that I wanted to document.
And did you have criminalists swab this particular stain?
Yes.
And did they do it in the same way you described them doing photo ID number 12.
Yes, the exact same process.
And was this booked into evidence as property item number 3 for this case?
Yes, it was.
I have a document with 2 photographs from A and B. May this remark equals next in order, 88.
89, 88, that's right. Stand corrected.
Looking at 88A, does that show the French doors from the interior side of the living room?
Yes, it does.
And does it show the general location of photo ID placard number 14?
Yes, it does.
Looking at 88B, can you tell us, this appears to be a close-up of the photo ID placard number 14. Can you tell us what is shown here?
Yes, again, this is a red stain on the door just to the right of the photo ID number 14.
And did you have a criminalist swab this particular stain?
Yes, I did.
And why did you ask them to swab this stain?
Again, I believed it was possible blood.
And did they swab it in the same way you described that they swabbed the stain from photo ID number 12?
Yes,
Same exact way?
same exact way.
And was this swab for this particular case as item number 4?
Yes.
Another series of photographs showing what appears to be a blue room with closets and a carpet. May this be marked as people's necks in order? It's photographs A through D.
89, 89.
Thank you. Looking at 89A, can you tell us what is shown here?
This is the upstairs room of the residence. I think technically it was a bedroom, but there wasn't a bed. It was a large screen TV and a couch. So I kind of was calling it a TV room.
And, can you describe what's over here, a little bit to the left, top center of this photograph? I'm pointing it with my finger. There appears to be a door in front of it.
Yeah, I believe that's a closet.
How about to the left of that, there appears to be some kind of other door. Maybe there are 2 doors, one on top of the other.
Yes,
Can you describe what that is?
that was, I would refer to it as a built-in cabin that had like accordion doors up on top and below. And that's the wall where the TV was.
And you see what's shown towards the bottom of this photograph? Appears to be a black,
Yes,
some type of clothing.
yes, it was a black leather jacket.
Looking at photograph B of this exhibit, does that show a different angle of that particular jacket?
Yes, that would be the perspective of looking into that room. And you can see the closet door on the right, and then those accordion doors on the cabinet. And then the very back of the photograph is a wall of windows that overlook the front of the house.
And how are these photo ID placards being placed? Are you placing them, or is someone else placing them at your direction?
The criminalist is placing them at my direction. It's a team effort. We're trying to do it methodically and not skip over things.
Looking at photograph C, is this a close-up of that jacket?
Yes,
And looking at photograph D, is that a photograph of the jacket taken at a different location now? The jacket being shown at the front of the jacket.
yes,
And was this jacket booked in for this case as property item number 32?
yes, it was.
In that same room, did you find some jewelry on the floor?
Yes,
And I have a series of, my next exhibit is a series of photographs A through D. May this be my people's next in order, number 90.
Yes.
Looking at 90, can you tell us what is shown there?
yes, this is a piece of jewelry that was made of beads and a cross. And it's was broken and on the floor in that blue room.
Looking at photograph B, is this a photograph showing the general location of that cross with rosary within that blue room?
Yes,
Looking at photograph C, does this show a close-up of the cross with some of the beads that are attached to the cross?
yes, and some of the beads that are attached to the necklace, and then there's some loose beads as well.
And looking at photograph D, is this a photograph taken at a different location of photo ID number 16, that cross and beads?
Yes,
And was this cross and beads booked into evidence as property item number 33
yes, it was.
for this particular case?
Yes.
I have photographs A through D for what appears to be photo ID number 17. May this be marked as People's 91?
Yes.
Looking at People's 91, can you tell us what is shown there?
So this is a photograph that's taken at the top of the stairs. There's a landing, and straight ahead is the room that we were just discussing, the blue room, TV room, and to the left is a doorway that would enter into a bathroom.
Looking at photograph B, can you tell us what is shown here?
This is again the landing at the top of the stairs. The blue room is to the right, the bathroom to the left, the photo ID number 17 in the background.
And photograph C, is this a close-up of the placard for photo ID number 17?
Yes.
And why did you have them place a placard here?
Couple of things that are in this photograph. Number one, you can see the broken beads from the necklace that have kind of continued from that blue room out onto the landing. And then also you can see in this picture some kind of substance residue on the floor.
And could you smell or detect what that substance may have been?
Yes.
Objection, foundation, speculation.
Well, again, he said what it might have been. He didn't say conclusively. You can't conclusively state what it was, can you?
When this photograph was taken,
Yes.
no, but I had a pretty good idea.
Okay, so you believe it to be something?
Yes,
Okay, I'll allow it as such.
What did you believe it was?
I believed it was urine
And,
based on the smell.
and can you describe the dimensions of this stain of what you believe was urine?
I would say it was, if I were to draw a circle around the area, it would probably be about a 3-foot diameter.
Did you have them swab this particular location?
Yes,
And was that swab booked into evidence also?
yes,
I don't believe I have a picture of the swab, but is this a close-up of photo ID number 17 on D?
yes, it is.
But you did have it swabbed,
Yes,
and the swab was booked into evidence.
yes.
Was something found on the balcony of the bedroom on the third floor?
Yes,
I have a series of photographs showing photo ID number 18 that is remarked
92.
92, thank you.
What do you got? A through what?
A through C. Can you tell us what is shown there?
so this is in the balcony that is located off of the main bedroom on the third level. And there was a syringe on the balcony floor.
Looking at photograph B, is this a photograph of that syringe, photo ID number 18, from a view of looking from within the bedroom, looking out towards the balcony?
Yes,
And about how much time, do you know around what time this photograph is being taken?
I don't know exactly what time it was. It was quite a bit after the 5 a.m. of my arrival.
Because it appears to be, well, at least there's daylight on this photograph.
Yes,
Is this all, are these all these photographs being taken on February 15th, 2020?
yes,
And is this photograph C of this exhibit, is that a close-up of the syringe as where it was found?
yes,
And was this booked into evidence as property item number 21 for this case?
yes.
Do you have a property report with you?
I do.
The swab of the urine, was that booked as property item number 34 and described as a swab used to collect unknown stain hallway floor,
Yeah.
4ID17?
Objection founded.
What's the, I don't understand the foundation part.
Vote. Who booked it?
No, I say, was it booked?
What's it booked? That's what's the
As
question.
that, as item 34.
Was it booked as 34? How do you know it was booked that way, sir?
Yeah, I reviewed the property report.
Okay.
Looking at another series of photographs. Two photographs, Ministry Marks, People's Action Order, 93 A and B.
93.
Looking at 93 A, does that show the French doors from that third floor bedroom leading into that you would have to use to go towards the balcony?
Yes,
And looking at photograph B, a close-up of photo ID number 19, why was a photograph of this location taken?
we had located on the doorknob another red stain.
Objection has to weed.
Okay.
Aye,
You did. Okay.
So you located the swab. Did you have a criminalist swab that location?
yes,
And did they do that in your presence?
yes,
Did they do it in the same way they did for photo ID number 12, the swabs on the French doors in the living room?
yes,
And was that swab booked into evidence?
yes, it was.
And was the swab booked as property item number? I'll come back to that in a moment. May I have one moment, Your Honor?
Yep.
Looking at a series of photographs, 3 photographs of A through C showing what appears to be photo ID number 20. It is the marked people's next in order,
94.
94. Thank you, 94. And just to go back to 93A showing photo ID number 19, was that item described as a swab used to collect red stain from doorknob of French doors located in the victim's second-story bedroom, identified as property item number 5?
Yes,
I'm just gonna write in your presence, PI 5 at the very top of this photo.
was.
Now going back to 94, photograph A, can you tell us what is shown here?
I would characterize this as a makeup station inside the bedroom, the main bedroom.
And looking at photograph B, why was a photograph of this taken?
Just to document the condition of the makeup table. And then I thought that there might have been some type of fingerprint on the glass.
These photographs were taken by the criminalist?
by the photographer.
by the photographer, I'm sorry. And looking at photograph C, can you tell us what is shown here?
This is a swab.
And was that the swab of that location, where that makeup was located?
Yes,
And you thought maybe there would be fingerprints there?
I thought there might be some fingerprints on the glass, and so I made the decision to have that glass swabbed and then check for fingerprints.
So the swab is for DNA.
Correct.
And then later after, so first you take a swab for the DNA, and then you have people do some other kind of testing for fingerprints.
Correct.
Is
Because
that what was done in this case?
yes,
And the swab, for purposes of DNA, shown on photo ID number 20, was that booked into evidence as item number 36?
yes,
And some of these locations, once again, you're having them photographed because you don't know if it's relevant or not to the case.
Objection, leading.
Well, I think you stated that before, is that correct?
yes,
You took a picture of everything you came across mostly, because you didn't know whether it was relevant to the case or not.
correct.
All right, I'll allow it.
Looking at 95, I'm sorry, I have a series of two
You're
photographs.
96 now. That'll be 96, right?
96.
95, is it 95?
I have 94.
Right,
Okay, so it's just 95?
95.
Okay,
I think I was right.
you're right, it's 95.
95. Looking at 95A, can you tell us what is shown here?
So this is a picture from inside the main bedroom's walk-in closet. This is on drawers or cabinets and shelves area in the closet. And the, as you can see, the bottom drawer is pulled open. So we didn't know if it had been disturbed. So I had it marked and photographed.
Looking at photograph 95B was a swab also taken from that location.
Yes,
And was that booked in property item number 37?
yes,
Now going back to the bedroom, I have a series of photographs A through C. And this remark people's number 96.
Yes.
Looking at people's 96, photo ID number, it shows photo ID numbers 22 and 23. Can you tell the jury what is shown here?
so this is the main bedroom of the house. This would be on the right side toward the foot of the bed. I saw on the floor and on this rug some stains, and so I had those areas numbered and photographed.
And so those locations were swabbed.
Yes,
And looking at photograph B, is this one of those swabs for that location? Photo ID number 22.
yes,
And was that booked into evidence as property item number 39?
yes,
Looking at photograph C, is that a swab for the location of shown on photo ID number 23?
yes,
And was that booked as property item number 40?
40, yes,
I have a photograph showing the bed, and this remarked as people's 97.
Yes.
Looking at 97, is that a photograph of the bed on the third floor?
yes, it is.
And is that the condition of the bed when you got there?
Yes, it was.
I have a series of two photographs showing a purse on the floor, and this remarked people's 98.
Yes.
And at 98, photograph A, does that show an individual, it appears that they're wearing gloves and looking into a black purse?
Yes,
And is this happening in the bedroom?
yes, it is.
That's the bedroom with the bed that we just saw.
The main bedroom, yes.
And looking at photograph B, you tell us what is shown here.
So the detective that was in the previous photograph has removed some of the contents of the purse and has laid it out for photograph.
And there appears to be a notebook, gloves, and some other items. Were all the contents of that purse booked into evidence?
Yes, I believe so.
Looking at a photograph of a bathroom, with this remarked people's number 99.
Yes.
Tell us what's shown here.
This is the upstairs bathroom.
Is this the condition it was in?
When I was there, yes, that's the way it looked.
Now, a few days later, about 3 days later, on February 18th, 2020, did you and other detectives go back there to take certain measurements of that balcony?
Yes,
In here, a series of photographs, 2 photographs showing what appears to be the railing to a balcony with this remark, people's 100 A and B.
Yes.
So that's what is shown there.
so this is a photograph of the balcony off of the main bedroom.
This is like if you're standing in the bedroom, you're facing the balcony, you'll be facing towards the backyard.
Yes, you'd be looking out toward the backyard and kind of to the left.
And looking at photograph B, can you tell the jury what is shown there?
This is another picture taken of the balcony upstairs off of the main bedroom and looking out. And that's kind of the view of the back of the house.
2 other photographs showing a view of looking from the top of the balcony, looking down to the concrete patio. And this remarked people's number 101, A and B.
Right.
Looking at 101A, and so the jury what is shown here.
Yes, so this is a photograph taken from the balcony and, looking straight down off the balcony down to the ground.
Looking at photograph B,
It's the same type of photograph, but it's kind of turned to the left a little bit. You can see the corner of the balcony.
have another 2 photographs showing the main, showing the balcony. And this remarked people's number 102, A and B.
Yes.
You tell the jury what is shown here.
So this is, again, the upstairs main bedroom balcony. And this time it's looking to the right. So you can see the neighbor's roof line in the background. And then there's a tape measure that's laid on the balcony floor that basically runs from the metal railing to the doorway.
So you're taking measurements of the dimensions of this balcony?
Yes,
Looking at photograph B of this exhibit, is this also a photograph showing the balcony and measurements you're taking?
yes. If the prior picture would be considered the width of the balcony, this is a measurement of basically the length of the balcony.
And you take measurements of the height of that balcony railing.
Yes,
I have 2 photographs showing balcony railing with this remark 103, A and B.
Yes.
All right, looking at 103. Who's the gentleman with the shorter hair on this photograph?
that would be me. Pre-retirement.
And so did you measure the height of that balcony railing?
Yes,
And is that what you're doing here on photograph 103A?
yes.
You're looking at photograph B. You tell the jury what was the height of that railing?
3 feet 5 inches to the very top lip of the railing.
So it was over 3 feet.
Yes.
Now, in this particular case, did you request that syringe that we observed as property item number 21? Did you request for that item to be analyzed, the liquid within that syringe?
Yes, I did.
All right. And did you first send it to the LAPD lab?
Yes, I did.
And what happened with that analysis?
The report came back that it was not a narcotic.
And did you try to continue to try to see if you could determine what was in that what that liquid what was the liquid in the syringe?
Yes.
And what did you do?
After I was told that the LAPD lab would be unable to do that, I then contacted an FBI agent that the department works with and looked into having the FBI test it.
And did you send property item number 21 to the FBI to be tested to determine what was in that syringe?
Yes.
Okay. And did you obtain results?
Yes.
And with those results that it was nicotine?
Yes.
And when did the FBI return the syringe and 2 vials when they returned it back to you?
Yes.
So when it's returned back to you, this started off as property item number 21. What's the process when you have the items returned from another agency? They've been opened by another agency and now they're being returned to you. What do you do with that?
So the LAPD policy is that once an item is no longer within our control, when it comes back, when we get it back, in this case, the FBI lab, I rebook it into LAPD property, but we no longer consider it item 21, the previous item. It is now going to be booked in as a new item number because it was out of our control for time.
And was that rebooked as item number 65 when you got it back?
Yes.
Now, a syringe found at the defendant's residence, was that also sent to the FBI?
Yes.
Foundation.
Well, I can rephrase it.
Established that.
Can we approach your eye?
Yes. And just briefly, if you would, so we'll call you
Yes.
back in just a few minutes. And you are calling who? Brief with us.
Detective Fretlord?
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, you would normally take a break at 11 because I brought you in late. Unless you guys need a break. Anybody need a break? Okay. Okay. Restrooms are back here if you need to go. All right.
I haven't talked to him yet, Your Honor, about the,
Oh yeah. Okay. We'll get it straightened out. All right. Detective, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you can approach the witness stand, please. Raise your right hand.
You solemnly state that the testimony you're about to give and the solemn opinion before this court should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Thank you. Have a seat. Please state and spell both your first and last name.
It's Herman Fretlor. Herman is spelled Herman. Fretlor, Frettlohr.
All right. Counsel.
Thank you, Robert. What is your occupation and assignment?
I am a homicide detective for the Los Angeles Police Department
And how long have you been a sworn peace officer?
for 29 years.
Now, on February 15th, 2020, were you at the location of 8148 Cabora Drive in the city of Playa del Rey?
Yes.
Why were you there on that date and time?
We were serving a search warrant, and I was one of the searching officers.
And was that at around 7:30 p.m.?
Yes.
Now, during that search, did you find any items that you recovered?
Yes.
And what items were those?
There was a computer that was in a cabinet on the west wall of the living room.
And was that booked in as item number 16?
Yes.
And this was in the kitchen at the location of the address I just mentioned?
I'm sorry, what was the last question?
This computer was located in the kitchen of the address I just mentioned on Cabora?
No, it was in the living room.
I'm sorry, I apologize. The living room?
Yes.
Now, did you book that into evidence as item number 16 under DR number 200606220?
Detective Vinton did.
But you were the person that actually recovered that computer.
I pulled it out of the wall and I gave it to him and he booked it.
Now,
Back to that last part is more for speculation.
You pulled it out of the wall and then you gave it to him?
Yes.
What's the speculation?
Then he booked it. Detective Benson.
Were you there when he booked it?
No.
Okay, so you handed it to him. You handed it to him?
Yes, I did.
Okay, we'll take it from that. I'll sustain that.
Okay,
Are you-
strike that?
Yes.
was Detective Vinton with you during a search of this location?
Yes.
Was he the detective responsible for booking all of the items that was recovered from that location?
Yes.
And one of the items that was recovered was in fact that computer, is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, did you also speak to somebody by the name of Angelique on February 15th of that date?
Yes.
And where is it that you spoke to her?
We spoke in our police vehicle, giving her a ride home.
And who's we?
Detective Vinton and I?
And you were giving her a ride home, you said?
Yes,
And that conversation as you were driving was recorded?
it was.
Now, when you spoke to her, did you talk to her about what she did with someone by the name of Gareth Pursehouse in the hours prior to you taking her home?
Yes.
And during that conversation, did you ask her in regards to whether she observed any injuries on Gareth Pursehouse?
I did not.
And who asked her?
Detective Vinton did.
Were you present when he asked her?
Yes.
Did you hear her response?
Yes.
And what was her response?
She said she saw him with a black eye.
Your Honor, at this time, if people have a CD, may that be marked as people's next in order?
You're at 104. You said it's a C.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
And the accompanying transcript, which should be 104.
A, yes.
If they approach for one with for the court.
Yes. All right.
Can I get one, please?
Yes. Now that everybody has a copy, I'm going to play a small snippet. It's only a few seconds.
The injuries on him today? Okay. And when you showed up, when you showed up, he was obviously wearing clothes. clothes, right? Did he have the same clothes on that he had on when he got stopped at the police? Or did he change clothes in the house?
Now, did you hear the entirety of that recording, Detective?
I did.
Now, after Angelique provides to you that she observed that the defendant had a black eye, could you understand what it is that she said thereafter?
Not on this recording because it was her voice was very light on it, but I did listen to the entirety of this interview earlier today, and I did make it out, yes.
Okay, and what is it that she said immediately after saying that she observed the defendant had a black eye?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the last part of Detective Bratler's answer. Could I have read that?
Can you read it back, please?
Answer, no, not in this recording because it was her voice was very light on it. But I did listen to the entirety of this interview earlier today and I did make it out, yes.
So I'm going to object to the detective telling us something he heard on a recording that is not of the same quality that you played before this jury.
Is it the same recording that we're listening to now that you heard it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, this recording speaks for itself.
Well, I don't know that he knows it's the same recording because.
He says it is.
Yes, sir. He said, was it better? Well, then let me take the witness on voir dire, please, because then I can understand.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So Detective Fretlore, today you said before coming to court, you were provided with a recording to listen to?
Yes,
And it was a recording provided to you by who?
by counsel here.
And
by the
we're,
prosecution.
okay, the same attorney who's questioning you.
Yes,
Okay. And when you were listening to that, where were you?
in my office, at my computer, with my headphones.
So something was emailed to you
Yes,
and you listened with headphones.
yes,
And did you prepare any notes of that?
no,
Did you provide anything to the prosecution this morning, telling them that you listened to this recording today and had reached a determination as to what you heard?
I did.
You know what I mean? Reproach.
Was that made orally or in writing?
It was an email. It was an email?
It was an email you sent?
Yes.
Yes, okay. All right, Jessica.
Thank you. So Detective Fretlore, you indicated that you received a video file or an audio file from the Deputy District Attorney in your office via email,
Yes,
and that you listened to it with headphones.
I did.
And then after you listened to it with headphones, you sent an email to the Deputy District Attorney telling her what you heard.
I sent her an email inquiring about listening to a portion of the email that they were inquiring about regarding the black eye, and that I had listened to it. And then I asked her if they anticipated asking any additional questions regarding the statement.
And did you tell the deputy district attorney that you heard did you tell the deputy district attorney in that email what you heard on that audio recording?
I'd have to look at the email. I don't.
Do you have it with you?
I do.
Could you take a look?
Thank you, Your Honor. No, I just asked her if that I listened to the part regarding the black eye, and I was asking if they anticipated any other questions regarding the statement.
When did you tell deputy district attorney Marino that you heard whatever it is you're going to say you heard? When did you report to the deputy district attorney what your impressions were of what you heard on that audio recording?
He just stated that that's what you provided. That's the extent of it. Is that correct?
Yes.
You didn't state anything further because earlier I was under the impression, I think counsel was as well, that when you listened to the recording with the earphones, you could make out what it said.
Correct.
And that you then relayed that or conveyed it to the DA.
Yes.
But you did not.
Not
Not
in
looking at your
the
email.
not in the email. No.
When did you?
In the hallway.
Here outside of court
Yes.
today?
Yes.
May we approach?
Yeah, you did that orally?
Yes.
Okay. People, you're still on course of resting on Monday, you think?
Monday, early Tuesday.
Okay. All right. Good. All right, go ahead.
Without telling us what you were able to specifically hear on your own independent hearing of this recording outside
Well, I
of,
haven't heard the question.
It's testifying, it's not a question. It's assuming facts not in evidence that this witness heard something.
Well, so he stated he had. And
Well,
the court stated that the tape speaks for itself. It's not on the tape. The tape speaks for itself. So she's basically admonishing him without advising us what he may have heard. Well, finish your question.
thank you, Your Honor. Without telling us what it is that you heard when you independently listened to this recording with your headphones in your office with better quality, are you able to determine whether or not, based on your hearing today in court, whether Angelique stated that she did not ask the defendant how she received her black eye? I'm sorry, his black eye. How he received his black eye.
What's the objection?
Objection calls for speculation. Now, how is he supposed to know what he heard before he listened to the recording?
Well, I mean, do you have any independent recollection as you're sitting there talking to this, is Angelina?
Angelique?
Angelique, do you have any independent recollection regarding that issue?
Without having listened to the recording, no.
Okay, it stands like that. So, go ahead, go forward.
Based upon your review of the report and the recording, do you remember whether or not Angelique disclosed to you how the defendant received his black eye?
We'll
No.
get to that. Okay, I'll accept that.
Okay. Yeah, okay, the answer is no. You want to accept that?
Yes.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Did you or Detective Vinton follow up with Angelique and ask her specifically whether she asked the defendant how he received that black eye?
No.
So no follow-up question was posed to Angelique after she reviewed to you and Detective Vinton that he received the black eye?
Correct.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Any?
Very briefly.
Yes, good.
Detective Butler, how long have you been a detective?
Since 2006, 17 years.
And how many homicide investigations have you investigated?
Personally, 72, and I've been involved in probably 300.
And were you the original detective who called out Detective Masterson to the property at 2086 Mount Street on the evening of this event in 2020?
Yes, I was. Yes, I was on call.
And you also were called out to 2086 Mound, and you were one of the investigators on this case. Is that correct?
I was the supervisor on the case.
So you were supervising this case.
Yes,
And in that capacity, did you sign as supervisor approving the closeout report prepared by Detective Masterson in this case? Would you refresh your recollection?
most likely I did, but if I can look at it.
May I
yes, I'll
approach?
tell you.
Yes.
Yes, I did.
Okay. And while I'm here, may I just ask a follow-up question?
Yes.
I'm going to ask you to review page 200, well, it's 283, but it's page 4 of 8 of this report. In the last paragraph. if you could
For
read
what
that.
purpose? Recollection, recall, what is a refresher? What?
Yes, refreshers recollection regarding the interview of Angelique. I'd object to.
Yeah, I don't think it's sufficiently established what the foundation is.
Okay.
What-
Why don't
ask
you
the
hold it
question.
and I'll ask a question.
Okay.
So Detective Fretlore, you approved of, you're still reading.
I am.
Okay. I think they want me to ask you a question.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So you approved of the report containing a summary of your and Detective Vinton's interview of Angelique. Is that correct?
Yes,
And so before you reviewed this, before you signed this closeout report, you reviewed it. Is that correct?
yes,
And then as part of your review, you would have reviewed that last paragraph that I pointed out to you on that page 4. Is that correct?
yes.
Okay. Does that paragraph accurately reflect what occurred when you spoke with Angelique and Detective Vinton on February 15th, 2020?
I'm sure it's correct. It was 3 years and 7 months ago.
All right. And does that refresh your recollection as to what was said?
It does, and like I said earlier, the recording I listened to earlier this morning as well.
Okay. Well, based on this report, Angelique never told you or Detective Vinton that she asked, or that, let me rephrase that. Angelique never told you or Detective Vinton that she asked Mr. Pursehouse how he got the black eye.
She did not know how he had the black eye.
And she had reported to Detective Vinton and to you that she did not ask him how he received the black eye. Is that correct?
I believe is she did not know.
May I approach?
Yes.
Did you review Detective Vinton's report pertaining to the interview of Angelique?
I did.
And when you reviewed the report prepared by Detective Vinton, did you ask him to make any corrections to the report?
I did not.
Did you believe that his report was accurate when you reviewed it?
Yes,
Would it refresh your recollection to look at the report in regards to whether or not Angelique asked Mr. Pursehouse how he got the injury?
Objection asked and answered.
Sustain. I believe he's already answered him.
I believe his last answer was that she had not asked that she,
If that, what you're about to show them shows something to the contrary, then I agree with you.
she did not ask.
Right,
That's what the report says.
okay, would you agree with that?
That's what's written, Your Honor, but I think,
Okay,
Objection.
no, go ahead, you can answer.
but specifically, she said she didn't know.
But did she ask?
The only thing she said regarding the black eye was she didn't know.
Okay, but she never said, I never asked.
She never said that.
Okay,
So
What was
if,
that again?
She never said that.
she said she didn't know how he got the injury.
No, regarding asking him, I think. That's the quandary here, right? I mean,
Well, I
you're
think that-
asking
I
whether
understood
she
it.
asked him
I'm
or
sorry,
whether she knew.
I understood that, maybe I'm confused or a little unclear, that she never asked, she did not know how he got the injury, number one. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and she never asked him how he got the injury.
She never said that.
She never said that. That subject never came up.
Yeah, that's possibly
Okay.
an interpretation of what she said.
Okay,
I'm going to move to strike that last part as speculation. We've heard testimony from
all right.
Detective
let's
Vinton
just say- Go
yesterday.
ahead.
I'm gonna,
And
Your Honor,
Hold on.
And I'm trying
can I have
to,
a sidebar?
I would like to be able to ask the question about the report. So
I
that-
understand. They have a right to approach sidebar. You all do.
We're going to try to clear up some confusion. So Detective Fretlor, you had an opportunity to read Detective Vinton. We're going to try to clear up some confusion. So Detective Fretlor, you had an opportunity to read Detective Vinton's report.
Yes.
And you did not ask him to make any corrections at the time that you reviewed it.
That's correct.
And that is because you did not find any inaccuracies in that report, correct?
That's correct.
All right. Do you need to have your recollection refreshed as to what this report actually says?
No, I read it.
All right. And the report does actually say that Angeline noticed Pursehouse had a black eye, but did not ask him what happened, correct?
That's what it says, yes.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Any regret?
Yes. The report that counsel is referring to, who wrote it?
Detective Vinton.
Now, you indicated that it was a summary of the interview, is that correct?
Yes.
Even though you signed off on that report, whose interpretation of the conversation with Angeli is that? Your interpretation or Detective Vinton's interpretation?
Objection,
calls for
speculation.
Overruled.
Detective Vinton.
Now, based upon hearing the recording today, reviewing the report that Detective Vinton wrote, do you believe the statement to be inaccurate?
Objection, Your Honor.
Well, he's already stated that he believed, he was asked specifically about that paragraph by counsel just a few moments ago. He said he believed it was accurate. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And when you say you believe it was accurate, do you believe it was an accurate interpretation by Detective Vinton?
Overruled.
It is.
Okay.
Thank you. Nothing
Stands.
further.
Okay. All right. Anything further? You may step down.
Thank you, Your Honor.
One second.
Well, see, you should have gotten the whip.
It's trying.
Trying. All right. Do you have another question?
I'm going to ask one last question, Your Honor. I'm going to approach with this report.
May I see this report?
Is it the same one you showed?
Yes.
Okay. The paragraph you showed.
I showed two reports.
We showed. Good.
And I'm going to point to
You can't read it from there? Take a look at it. Okay. Let
I'm a
her
lot older, so
Okay.
no, I can't.
Thank you. You believe me? Okay.
Your Honor, may we approach? So
It says,
Your Honor, that's the second time today.
No.
I'm sorry.
I'm gonna object to
That's
counsel
not-
testifying a second time.
All right, listen, this approaching business is, the court is gonna get intervene and it's gonna deny approaching. I'll allow it this time around. Let's approach one more time. You like that, huh?
Your Honor, may I reapproach a witness, please?
Yes,
Show you a highlighted portion of the statement.
Yes.
Now, there is a statement in regards that is in contention about whether or not Miss Angeli was asked, or Miss Angeli asked the defendant whether she asked how the defendant got the black eye.
That's
Is that-
correct.
Is that correct? Now, based upon the review of the report as well as the recording, did she state that? That
Okay.
she did not ask.
and that subject has been broached, and this witness has already answered to the best of your ability. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so let's move on from there.
Can you
It
just
is-
answer the question? That's the only question that people have.
No, I know, it was the only question. It's been asked, posed 3 times. I'm gonna, you don't have to answer that, so let's move on if you would. All right?
Now, based upon the report of Detective Vinton, do you agree with the statement that he stated he did not ask him? She did not ask him what happened.
I'm gonna object to this cause for speculation and beyond the scope and ask an answer.
Overruled.
No, I do not agree with that statement.
Thank you. Nothing.
Okay.
Your Honor, I'm gonna object and move to strike it because of the reasons we broached at sidebar. Because
Overruled. It'll stand. So that's for argument, counsel. All right, let's move on. Anything further?
No, Your Honor.
All right, you may step down, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
While we're getting that witness, let's all right. All right, counsel, who was questioning? Okay, go ahead.
I'm gonna play a tape for you right now.
How long was the tape?
No, I'm kidding.
Oh,
Your Honor, I have another photograph showing defendant Pursehouse. It's a DMV photograph. Would this be my people's next in order?
105.
105. You recognize, oh, you recognize this document?
I do.
Okay, so at some point on February 15, 2020, did you receive information from individuals that led you to arrest Gareth Pursehouse?
Yes,
Overruled. I mean, based on the information you received, did you undertake subsequent conduct?
yes,
Okay, overruled.
And was part of that conduct to obtain his DMV photo?
yes,
And is this document his DMV photo with his DMV information?
yes, it is.
And on his DMV information, you have a fingerprint, a signature that's shown on People's 105.
Yes,
And do you have an address?
yes,
And is that 813 Cabora Drive, Playa del Rey?
yes, it is.
And does it also have his height and weight?
It does.
And is that height of 6'4" and weight of 230 pounds?
Yes,
And is the issue date for this on July 3rd, 2019?
yes,
And was this photograph used to provide to other detectives if they were to arrest the defendant, they would know what to look for.
Objection leading.
The state.
What was the photograph going to be used for?
It used to help identify suspect.
Now, we were talking also about how you sent items to the FBI to be analyzed, the syringe, property item number 21, and when they send it back, I don't know if you finished describing, when they send it back, after they've opened the syringe and they send it back to you, what do you do with it?
Once I've received it back, then I have to repackage and rebook it, but under a new item number since it had been out of our custody, our care and control.
So it's no longer property item number 21.
Correct.
Did it become property item number 65?
Objection leading.
On that foundation.
Yes.
Looking here at photographs A through H showing number 65, may this be marked People's Next in Order number 106.
Yes.
Right. Is this, do you recognize what's shown here on photograph A?
Yes, I do.
And what is that?
So this is a analyzed evidence envelope. It's marked number 65, has the name Harwick Amie. It also has my name and my serial number.
And just for the jury's edification, the numbers written here, 106, PI 21, and A, those I've written those. Those were not part of the photograph.
Correct. Yeah, that's not me.
And looking here at photograph B, does this show what's inside the envelope for? Let me see. The envelope that was marked 65.
Yes.
And it also shows another envelope in there with a 21.
Yes.
Okay, and it shows something like a test tube. Is that correct?
Yes. It has a tube with a stopper on it so it won't fall out.
And photograph C, is that a close-up of that?
Yes.
And photograph D, is that a close-up showing some markings on that glass cylinder,
Yes.
including photo ID number 18?
Yes.
And that's the photo ID when you see the syringe out in the balcony.
Yes.
And photo E is another photograph with a ruler next to it.
Yes.
And what's the purpose of that?
Just gives you a scale measure of what it is, how big it is. So when you're looking at it in the photograph, you have some kind of idea of the size.
In photograph F, that's another close-up with markings on the tube,
Yes.
including the DR number 2006-06220.
Yes.
That's your case number.
Yes, it is.
Photograph G is just another close-up.
Yes, it is.
And photograph H is this one of the vials that was returned to you from Dr. Bradley, after Dr. Bradley analyzed the syringe and created a smaller vial?
It
Objection
is.
leading.
It is.
Indeed. And that's the vial has a 22095, and you can see up here 954 number 1.
Yes.
How about the syringe that was found at defendant Purshouse's residence? Did you send that to the FBI to be analyzed?
Yes.
Okay, and did they return some results for you?
I believe they did. Yes.
But nothing was found in that syringe.
Correct.
Of value.
Correct.
And did they return that syringe back to you?
Yes.
Okay, and did that have to be rebooked into evidence?
Yes, it did.
Your Honor, I have photograph A through F for the property item number 67. May this be marked equals 107?
Yes.
In that photograph A of 107, can you tell us what is shown here?
This is two analyzed envelopes of the LAPD. One is marked with number 67 on the left.
Photograph B, is this some of the contents from that envelope?
Yes.
It now has an item number 2 on there, is that correct?
Yes, but that sticker that's not my doing.
That's a sticker that was there after the FBI returned it to you.
Yes.
Leading.
I mean, it was there, it wasn't there when you sent it to him, was it?
No,
And it was there when you got it back?
yes, sir.
Okay.
And that sticker has the number of 202000954, number 2.
Yes,
Photograph C, is that? Is that a close-up of what was inside that tube?
yes,
Does that appear to be the same syringe with yellow liquid that was sent to the FBI?
yes,
Photograph D, is that a close-up of that?
yes,
And photograph E, is that a close-up showing the XL brand label on it?
yes,
And lastly, photograph F, is that a photograph showing the measurements of how much this syringe may contain?
yes.
Now, did you conduct interviews in this case?
I did.
Did you interview Michael Herman, who was there at the residence on February 15, 2020?
Yes, I did.
Now, this is important. Your first initial interview with Michael Herman, was it recorded?
On Officer Body Worn.
Okay. How about you? When you first, did you later on separately interview him?
Yes,
Did you videotape that interview?
yes,
Did you interview Sarah Rollins on February 16, 2020, the very next day?
yes,
Did you record that initial interview?
yes, I did.
And why is that important to record that initial interview?
We want to capture what the person, the witness or whoever it may be, what they say in their words. So there's no ambiguity as to what they said. We can always refer back to the recording and see what exactly was said.
Now, just going back to February 15, 2020, after all this evidence is collected, were you able to collect the ring videos on February 15, 2020?
Yes,
So on February 15, 2020, at about what time did you get to see the ring videos from the neighbor's house?
Objection foundation.
Well, he said, what time did you get to see it? That's not what's the foundation part of
How the ring, did he personally?
it. Yeah, did you go there?
I did not personally collect the video. Other detectives did.
Wait, I'm not asking that.
Oh, your question was?
I'm asking, did you see some ring videos from the neighbor's house at some point on February 15, 2020?
And his objection was foundation, and that how does he know it was from the neighbor's house? If he didn't collect it. Was that your?
Yes, exactly.
As the investigating officer on this case, was evidence provided to you?
Yes,
And did you have detectives obtain the ring videos from the neighbor's house?
Objection hearsay foundation.
Overruled.
You can answer that.
yes,
Okay, and so that was provided to you.
yes,
And did you get to see the ring videos?
yes.
At about what time on February 15, 2020, did you get to see the ring videos? Approximately.
Sometime midday.
What does midday mean? Like 12 p.m., 2 p.m.,
So somewhere between, let's say, 11 and 1.
1 p.m.?
1 p.m. Yes, sir.
And did you have the defendant's DMV photo at that time?
No,
At that time, had you interviewed Michael Herman?
yes,
And had Michael Herman, had he directed you and indicated that you should look into a particular individual?
Objection hearsay relevance.
Well, it isn't hearsay because it only if it's not hearsay if did you undertake subsequent conduct once Mr. Herman gave you that advice?
yes,
Okay, it's not hearsay. Overruled.
And did that assist you in looking into particular suspects?
yes.
And which suspect was that?
Gareth Pursehouse.
And so were you able to look at the body-worn video where Michael Herman makes statements there at the location when police officers first arrived?
Yes,
And you also interviewed him at the scene at 2886 Mount Street on February 15, 2020.
yes.
And then was he taken to the police station?
To Hollywood Station for a further interview. Yes,
And was that first interview with him conducted at 8:25 in the morning?
yes,
And was that videotaped?
yes, it was.
Did you also have photographs taken of his injuries?
Yes, we did. I did.
And did he have some injuries to his body?
Yes, he did.
During your interview at 8:25 in the morning, I have one moment now.
Yes.
During that interview, did Mr. Michael Herman indicate to you that his roommate was attacked, that she was screaming, that she was thrown to the ground?
Yes.
Objection, hearsay.
All right, consistent, I take it. Yes, all right, overruled.
Say that right away towards the beginning of the interview?
I believe so, yes.
And just to stay with Mr. Michael Herman, did he call you about 5 days later and leave a voicemail message for you?
Yes, he did.
And do you remember what he indicated in that voicemail message to you?
Basically, yes.
What did he say?
That he had been thinking about things and thought he'd had developed some more insight into what had happened.
And what else did he say in that voicemail message? You didn't memorize the voicemail message?
No, I did not.
Would looking at the report help you refresh your recollection?
It may.
May I approach you on?
Yes.
Looking at bait stamp page 3490 for council's benefit.
Yes, I remember this.
Okay, does that help you remember?
Yes, it does.
All right, so what did he say? What information did he leave on your voicemail 5 days after February 15, 2020?
That he remembered being awakened by the sound of something crashing or breaking, and that he remembered that now.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and take a break, ladies and gentlemen, at this time. Be back at 1:40, not 1:30, please. We'll see you. Have a good lunch. Thank you. Back on the record, once again, it seems like I'm always apologizing to you, but this issue had to be resolved before we can continue with this witness. It had to be, and I resolved it, any event. The other thing is that you may have noticed that next door, there's going to be they close the streets. It's going to be some celebration. They've advised us to stop early because the traffic is going to get horrendous. And so, yeah, it's going to get pretty bad, the car again and so forth. They're going to start bringing in more things. So my intention is to stop about 3:15. So will you finish with this witness or maybe not?
Yes.
Okay. So all of you. So I would rush to your cars and get out of town if I literally. Okay. All right. So so if you could stand up again, officer. Is it officer?
I'm currently an investigator now.
Investigator. Call you investigator. Okay, David. Let's do this in front of the jury if you would.
Please raise your right hand. You solemnly state that the testimony you're about to give in the cause now pending before this court should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God.
I do.
Thank you. Have a seat. Please state and spell both your first and last name.
Luis Topete, Luis Topete.
Okay, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. What is your current occupation?
I'm currently an investigator with the Riverside County District Attorney's Office.
What was your occupation back on December 8th of 2021?
I was a detective with the Los Angeles Police Department, assigned to the computer forensic section.
What is your background, training, and experience in regards to forensic examination of electronic devices?
In my assignment at the time, I was also assigned to the Secret Service Cyber Fraud Task Force, where I received over, I would say, about 1,000 hours of training in mobile devices, various operating systems, including Android, iPhone, multiple operating systems for computers, whether it's Windows or Apple or Linux systems. So, but I was also certified on examining those devices, both by the Secret Service training facilities and also by some of the private software companies where we actually received training.
Now, back on December 8th, 2021, did you receive several electronic devices to examine that were booked under DR number 2006-06220?
Yes, I did.
Were one of these items, item number 16, a Silverstone desktop computer with the serial number of BQ1520464?
Yes, it was.
Is this item a desktop computer?
It is. It was a rather large desktop computer.
Was this desktop computer configured in such a way that you'd typically find a desktop computer if you bought it at the store?
Objection, leading, relevant.
It's foundational. And relevancy, yeah, you're hitting that part very close. So just ask this question and move on if you would.
Yes.
I definitely found it to be modified and very not very typical of what you might find at a retail store.
Objection, leading approach.
No more approaching. Not for a little while. I make sure.
Discovery violation.
No.
Relevant.
No. Relevance, I'll allow the answer to stand. Let's move on, as I stated.
Sure. Do you remember conducting a forensic analysis? I'm sorry, not do you remember? Did you conduct a forensic analysis of item number 16, that desktop computer?
Yes, I did.
Now, in conducting that analysis, did you utilize keywords in order to conduct that forensic analysis?
Yes, I was provided several keyword search terms by the investigator who requested the search and the analysis.
Was one of those search terms Amie Harwick?
Yes, it was.
Why do you use search terms in order to conduct a forensic analysis of any sort of electronic device?
But because of the hundreds of thousands of files and images that are going to be on the computer device, a keyword search term will help me narrow down the results to a manageable amount.
Utilizing the search term Amie Harwick, what did you locate on item number 16, a desktop computer?
I located what we would call a registry file, which is kind of like a setting file, which tracks folders and files and user preferences, and that had an artifact with a reference to the Gmail account belonging to the victim.
Now, was that Gmail account amynicole13@gmail.com?
Yes, it was.
All right. Now, this time I'll ask you to approach.
You just indicated you located some artifacts belonging to a Gmail account of amynicole13@gmail.com. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
At this time, I don't know if people would like to mark what appears to be a screenshot of a interface of the computer made out of sex order.
108.
With defense's ongoing objection.
Yes, noted. Based on what you stated.
Yes.
Yes.
Because it's all a big document, I'm going to scan it from left to right, showing you what's been marked as People's 108. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, I do.
And how do you recognize it?
This would have been one of the reports that I generated after the examination.
And this is utilizing a program that you use to conduct a forensic analysis?
That's correct for Windows operating systems, yes.
Now I'm going to zoom in on a specific entry here. The first entry in this report where it states core phone, Amie Nicole 13 at gmail.com takeout. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
Could you explain to us what that is?
Yes, so a takeout is a service that Google offers to back up your Gmail account and all its contents, whether it's email, photos, documents, whatever you keep on your Google Drive. So that's a method of backing up your data from Google.
Now, just to be clear, this artifact is a file that was actually on the user's computer.
It was not on the computer. This is a reference to where it was at. It was actually in based on where I'm finding this was on some kind of a network attached storage device or that the computer had access to.
But the computer, item number 16, accessed or viewed this takeout file. Is that correct?
Yes, that would be correct.
Can you tell from your forensic analysis when it was last accessed?
So it looks like from the date here, they call it the interaction date here, it would have been accessed September 25th, 2019.
And that's here where I'm pointing with my pen?
Yes.
Now, in regards to the several other entries here, are those consistent with the first entries? Well, access to a file, that this computer accessed that file.
Yes, they're all indicating that file or data that's coming out of that file.
Now, going down to entry 7 and 8, you see that there is an access date here of November 26, 2019.
Yes.
And it appears to be the same file except for the change of words. One says docs and one says contacts. Could you explain the difference?
Yes, that's correct. So the Google Takeout file is like a big zip file, and it contains different types of data, documents, contacts, your Gmail contacts would be on there. Whatever the user decided to back up and make a copy of. So I'm assuming these all came from the Google Takeout file.
Now, just to be clear, this labeling here where it says core phone, consistent with all the entries in your report here, is that a label given by the user?
Yes, that would have had to have been created by the user of this device.
Now, you don't know when that label was created, but the label nonetheless was created by the user.
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Nothing.
Mr. Franzel.
Thank you. None of these pieces of digital forensic evidence in any way suggest that somebody was accessing this Amie Nicole 13 at gmail.com account on those dates. That's not what this stands for.
Overruled. I mean, based on what the court has ruled in terms of, you mean actually going into her account?
Correct.
I'll allow it as such based on the court's ruling.
Is counsel opening the door?
No,
That's fair based on the court's ruling. You can answer that question, but don't go delve deep into it. Yes.
No, not.
Right. So again, this is simply saying that a backup of the Gmail account was done, and this computer accessed data from that Google Takeout file.
Okay. And just so that it's super crystal clear, access means.
Well, let him finish. Okay.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
just to be very clear, access means going to a file and opening the file and viewing the file.
Yes.
Okay.
There was, in your review of item 16, this computer, there was no evidence that told you when this Google takeout occurred of amienicole13@gmail.com.
When the backup occurred of the Google.
Correct.
Right. I wasn't able to determine that because I didn't have the device where the actual file was residing in.
For all you know, it could be 2010.
Yeah, I didn't have the date. Right. I didn't know what the date was.
And you do not know when the folder was named. And we're looking at, any of these. This is the same. Basically, it's the same path, but you don't know when that horror phone path name was created, right?
Right. I don't know.
Now, did you at any point discuss your interpretations of this very technical information with Mr. Avila or Ms. Mariano and kind of explain what it all means?
Again, be careful of tread lightly based on the court's ruling if you get a response of some sort. So
It's just
I understand, but we don't know what conversation took place. Nor do you.
I'm not asking about the content of the conversation. Just did
Okay.
any conversation occur where like facts about your work were discussed?
Yes, I discussed my findings about this file.
Do you recall when?
That would have been a few hours ago.
Where was that?
At the district attorney's office in the Hall of Justice.
How long was that conversation, roughly?
Maybe 10 minutes.
And last question, similar to you not knowing the date of the backup, you also don't know the circumstances around that, do you?
Circumstances.
Like you don't know how it happened.
I can't say for sure how it was backed up. I can only speculate.
All right, nothing further.
Anything?
No, you're.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
John. You may call your next witness.
We're going to recall Detective Scott, retired Detective Scott.
What does this make us fifth time up here?
I'm sorry, Detective William Masterson, Scott to his friends. No,
You got a good workout, huh?
I'm getting a lot of seat time
Yeah.
out in the hallway.
You were still inquiring, weren't you?
Yes,
All right.
I was a. We had to take a seat. We were talking about Michael Herman and the first statements he had made during your interviews. And we talked about how he left a voicemail message for you.
Yes,
And you read it, and you indicated that in that voicemail message, he said he had heard crashing sound like someone dropped in a plate earlier in the evening.
yes,
And then did you then try to meet with him that same day, February 20th, 2020, to interview him?
yes,
And did you interview him?
yes,
And the second interview, did you record it?
yes,
And in the second interview, did he say, right when, at the beginning of the interview, I think because when I yelled up her name, I think he put her to the ground as quickly as he could and started choking her.
yes,
And did you or Detective Carranza ask, wait a minute, you heard choking? Yes, I heard choking. Did he say that?
yes,
And did he also say, It sounded like he threw her to the floor, and then she screamed like choking sound. Like it sounded like, I figured that she was screaming for a while, like really bloody murder.
Yes.
And did he also say she was screaming? And remember, I told you I thought she saw a mouse or something, and I just woke up.
Yes.
And did he also say, because as soon as I said her name, he started manhandling her?
Yes.
And that was on February 20th, 2020.
Yes.
By the way, now going back to the date of the murder, the date that Amie Harwick was killed, February 15th, 2020, did you speak to a Robert Koshland?
No, I would object to the form of the question in reference to murder.
All right, the day that he rephrased, he said the
I
day,
rephrased it.
yeah, he did rephrase after that. So the day of the incident.
Right, the date of the incident, February 15th, 2020. Did you speak to Robert Koshland at about 10 in the morning?
Yes.
Now, did he provide you with the name of Gareth Pursehouse?
Yes, he did.
Michael Herman, did Michael Herman just tell you should talk to Robert Koshland about the actual name of the ex-boyfriend?
Yes.
And did Robert Koshland provide you some information that then led you to investigate Gareth Pursehouse?
Yes.
And did you interview Sarah Rollins on February 16th, 2020?
Yes.
And was Robert Koshland present during that interview?
I believe, yes.
Why is that? Why was he present during that interview?
That's not typically what we do, but she felt like she needed support. She was nervous, upset, so we did it that way.
Objection, false or speculation, hearsay.
Well, did she say that, sir?
I don't remember her exact words, but that was what I understood from her.
That he was there for support?
Yes.
Okay, court will allow us.
And by the way, did you record that initial interview with Sarah Rollins?
Yes, I did.
By the way, when did do you remember approximately when you received the autopsy report for this particular case?
I don't recall the exact date, but it was about a month later.
Do you have any notes that would tell you when you received it?
I don't know if I have a chrono that would cover that time frame.
Would it be in April of 2020?
Objection, witness testified he doesn't remember.
He doesn't remember, so.
Well, let me ask you this. When Michael Herman told you that you heard her being choked, did you have the autopsy report at that point?
Objection, asked and answered.
I didn't ask.
Hey, go ahead, you can answer.
No, I did not have the autopsy report.
So you didn't, when you received the autopsy report indicated manual strangulation.
Yes.
Objection, vague as the date.
All right, you can split that up.
At any point, when you had the autopsy report, did the autopsy report indicate that one of the contributing factors to death was manual strangulation?
Yes.
But your interview with Michael Herman in February 2020, when he said she was being choked, did you have the autopsy report at that point?
No, I did not.
I have nothing further.
Cross-examination.
We may just have a moment to get set up, Your Honor.
All right.
Good afternoon, Detective.
Good afternoon. Just Scott. I'm no longer a detective.
All right. So you spoke with Michael Herman at 2086 Mound Street on February 15th, 2020, right?
Correct.
And you spoke to him before interviewing him at the station.
Yes.
You went into his house.
Went into his bedroom.
Right. You walked through the house and down to his bedroom, right?
No, I came in through the back door and his bedroom is right there to the right.
Okay. He was asleep.
Not when I interviewed him, no.
I should hope not. That would be a strange interview. When you walked into his room,
When I walked into his room,
he was in bed.
he was not in bed asleep.
He was at 2086 Mound when you first went over there in the morning, before the interview at the station. He was in bed. He was under the covers in bed.
I don't recall him being under the covers in bed.
Would it refresh your recollection to look at a body-worn video?
It may, yes.
May I approach?
Yep.
All right, so I'm hitting play. I'm gonna have the sound off.
May I approach you?
Yes.
Did that refresh your recollection?
Can you rewind that just a little bit, just a few seconds back?
Like, is that far enough? Or a little bit further?
Yeah, no, that's fine. I think that's fine. Thank you. I think Carranza came down and I just came in. Right. Oh, there. Okay.
All right. Did that refresh your recollection?
Somewhat, yes.
So there is a uniformed officer with Detective Carranza who arrives at 2086 Mount Street, right?
Yes.
And that the uniformed officer is the one that has the body-worn camera that's making the recording.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
And Detective Carranza, an officer, walked through the house.
Yes.
And you, I think, walk around the side and come in the back.
That's my recollection of it. Yes.
And then you go into Michael Herman's room, and no one can know if he was like actually asleep, but he was under the covers in bed, right?
Yes. The video showed he was laying in bed with the blankets. Yes.
And the three of you wake him up and tell him that you want to do a walkthrough in the house.
Objection. Foundation, wake him up.
Well, again, no one can know whether he was asleep or not, so anyway, they make
So,
contact with him.
Make contact with him.
All right.
Yes.
And you asked him to tell you everything that had happened and what he heard and saw, right?
Yes.
And you asked him, what he did in reaction to what he heard and saw the night before, right?
We asked to do the walkthrough and to get an idea of what he was going to tell us.
Okay.
I don't know the specific wording that you're giving me there.
And so you walk through the house and he tells you what had happened, right?
Yes.
And in that walkthrough on February 15th, 2020, in the morning, he does not tell you that he heard the sound of something breaking earlier in the night.
Is that correct? Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't think so. No.
He did not tell you that he heard sounds of choking.
No.
And just so the record's clear, I want to avoid a double negative. So I'll end my questions with, is that correct? Okay. So he did not tell you that he heard the sounds of Amie being muffled. Is that correct?
Muffled?
No,
Double negative.
Double negative.
Yeah. Okay.
The one he wanted to avoid?
I know. I tried to avoid it, and I set myself up.
Go ahead.
Right into it. He never told you that he heard the sounds of what sounded like Amie being muffled.
Well, he did tell us that he heard Amie being muffled. The way you asked me that question.
In the walkthrough,
Okay.
before you take him to the station, in that walkthrough, he never said that he heard what sounded like her being muffled. He never said that.
I'm just trying to remember at what time, at what point he said that. And I think that is correct.
He does not tell you that he heard the sounds of what sounded like two people falling to the floor.
In the initial walkthrough.
Correct.
Correct.
He does not say that he heard sounds of suffocating.
Correct.
He told you that she was still yelling when he left the house.
I believe that is correct.
He told you that she was yelling the whole time.
My only hesitation is that I don't know if he said that she was yelling the whole time, or that when he left to get help, he no longer heard her yelling. That's the only thing that I
Would it
don't
refresh
know.
your recollection to look at the transcript?
It may.
This is the transcript tied file number walkthrough with detectives and PR, and I'm gonna have him read starting in page 27, line 24, and read to page 28, line 10. And if you could please look up when you're done.
Okay. So to line 10 and 27.
So if you start at 27 at the very bottom,
This goes to page 27. Line what?
line 21,
21. Okay.
and then to line 10 of the next page. I think is the relevant part. You're welcome to read more of it. Okay, does that refresh your recollection, Scott?
Somewhat, yes.
So he told you that she was yelling still when he left the house,
Yes.
and that she was yelling the whole time.
Yes.
So after that walkthrough, then you and Detective Carranza and the officer and Mr. Herman go to the station, right?
Yes.
And you have a more formal interview at the station that occurred at 8:25 in the morning.
Yes.
And there you do a more thorough interview and ask him more, not just what happened at night, but more facts surrounding the situation, right?
Correct.
And you have him run through again the relevant events.
Yes.
And he, in that interview on at 8:25 in the morning on the 15th of February, he does not tell you that he heard the sounds of choking.
Correct.
He does not tell you that he heard the sounds of Amie being muffled.
Yes. Correct.
He does not tell you that he heard the sounds of suffocating.
Correct.
He does not tell you that it got quiet before he left the house.
He does not.
He told you that she was still yelling when he left.
Yes.
He never told you that he heard what sounded like two people falling to the floor.
No, I don't believe so.
He specifically described it as like a shuffling sound, sounded like a struggle, right?
Yeah, I remember him saying struggle. Yes.
And that she was yelling the whole time, and she just kept screaming.
Yes.
And you specifically asked him, did you hear anything else? And he said no.
I don't remember that specific question, but that sounds like something I would have asked.
This transcript, the page numbers aren't on it, so it's a little bit difficult, but would it refresh your recollection if I showed you in the transcript that question?
It might.
Okay, just give me a second, because every page says it's page 3, which it's not. Actually, I'm going to just return to that in a second. So the first time that he ever said anything to choking or being brought to the floor was on the 20th of February, 2020.
Yes, I believe that's correct.
And that was in a phone call initially, right?
Yeah, yes,
You and Detective Carranza were in a car.
yes,
And Michael Herman called you, or either you called him or he called you.
yes,
And you had a brief conversation with him, and then you put the phone on speaker.
yes,
And you put the phone on speaker so that Detective Carranza could listen and be part of the conversation, and also to begin recording.
yes,
And so that recording begins once you move from just speaking on the phone and on speaker for the three of you to have a discussion, right?
correct.
Now, in that phone call on the 20th, that was the first time he told you that he heard choking.
I believe so.
That was the first time he told you that he heard sounds of what sounded like someone taking another person to the ground.
Yes,
Those were new facts that he did not tell you previous to the 20th of February.
yes,
And that was the same day that the media published the coroner's findings that alleged strangulation.
On February
20th.
20th. Foundation?
If you know.
Sustained.
If he knows.
Did you ever see that publication?
no, sir,
Okay, sustained.
You didn't see the LA Times article?
no,
All right. So I'd like to talk about the kind of the timeline. So on February 15th, 2020, at 4:30 in the morning, Detective Fred Lower calls you.
yes,
Now, Sergeant Deneen had called much earlier to the night detectives, right?
I don't know.
It was assigned to you as a case to respond to. There were multiple detectives that were available that night, right?
I was the on-call detective.
But the call to the night detectives had happened like 2.5 hours before you got the call at 4:30, right?
I don't know.
And the interior crime scene you testified to on direct wasn't established until 5 a.m., right? Or sorry, crime scene log.
The interior crime scene log?
Correct.
I think that's what time they started it, yes.
On that day, you took handwritten notes about going to the crime scene. Or
Yes,
the suspected crime scene at the time, right?
yes,
And according to those handwritten notes, you arrive at 2086 Mound Street at 5:50 in the morning.
My handwritten notes?
Correct.
I don't recall.
Would it refresh your recollection?
It might.
If you could just look at the top part of the page and look up when you're done. Did that refresh your recollection?
Not really.
You took these handwritten notes on the 15th of February, 2020, right?
Yes.
You listed the incident number, right?
Yes.
The RD number, what's that?
Reporting district?
The report time, right?
Yes.
And then some basic information, the names of the paramedics who responded.
Relevance.
Sustain.
Okay. And you indicated that you arrived at 5:50 in the morning, right?
Yeah, that's what the notes say. Yes.
You kept a chronological log of your investigative actions in this case, right?
Yes.
And in that, it's chrono for short. It shows the date and time of what you did. Significant investigation actions that you took, right?
Yes. That's the purpose of the chronological record.
And in the chrono, it lists you arriving at 5:45, right?
I don't know for certain.
Would it refresh your recollection to look at the chrono?
It might.
May I approach?
Yes.
You could look at row 3 on the first page.
This one?
This one.
Second.
Second.
Okay.
Did that refresh your recollection?
As to the time,
Yes.
not really.
But it does say on your chrono that you arrived at 5:45, right?
The chrono shows 5:45. Yes.
But on the interior crime scene log, it says you arrive at 5, right?
As to the answer to relevance.
Sustain. And relevancy as well.
And now detectives don't wear body worn video, right?
No. At least when I was employed,
And you weren't in this case.
and I did not in this case. No.
You wrote a number of reports in the days immediately after February 15th, right?
You mean involving other incidents?
No, in this case, he wrote a 6-page investigative report. In this case, do you recall that?
I wrote several reports. Yes.
I'm just talking about the days right after. I'm just like the days immediately after the incident. You wrote a report on the 16th of February 2020 titled Investigative Report, right?
I may have.
Would it refresh your recollection to look at it?
It might. Okay.
And while I'm up here, if I may, well, let me ask you first. Do you recall writing the closeout report?
Yes.
Big as to closeout report.
Is that what it's entitled?
It is.
All right.
So let's take the investigative report first. You finalized it on the 16th of February, right?
That is the first the report that you showed me. Okay. So that is the initial report that we write, crime report.
Right. And my question is, you finalized that on the 16th of February, right?
I don't understand what you mean by finalized.
You wrote it on the 16th of February.
Yeah, again, I don't remember the exact date that I wrote that.
Would it refresh your recollection?
All right, let's approach.
didn't I?
Yes, you did.
Okay. All right, go.
Okay, so I just want to just quickly establish that you wrote an investigative report on the 16th, right? Just the basic crime report.
The basic crime, I don't know if it was the 16th or the 17th, but yes, I wrote that report.
And then you wrote a closeout report on the 17th.
Again, I don't know the exact date.
But you did write a closeout
I did,
report.
yes,
Okay.
sir.
All right.
Well, I think it's important to just establish the date. Would it refresh your? I'll move on. It's fine. So you, very, very briefly, it's incredibly, you're retired, you have a ton of experience. It's incredibly important to include all of the significant facts in your investigative report, right?
I'm gonna check this argumentative and incredibly important.
Well, I think I know what the question is, as you asked it. It's important that you include significant material facts in your report, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And the closeout report specifically gets sent to district attorneys who are going to make a decision on, what charge to file and what to do in response to your investigation.
I
Right?
sent all my reports to the district attorney's office,
Including that one?
including that one.
Okay.
Okay, but they're going to make a decision based on this closeout, and a closeout is a initial summary of what you believe the facts to be at that point in time.
Right, but
Relevance
again,
and speculation.
Well, again, it is speculative. He sends all the reports, what they make a decision on, as opposed to just that report. I think they make it. You can't answer the question whether it's a culmination of all the reports as opposed to just the closeout report. But based on all the information they send, then you're probably correct. They decide what if any charges they're going to file.
And you would want to put all of the important facts in your reports to provide to the prosecution, right?
Yes,
And your reports in this case were complete, true, and accurate.
to the best of my ability, yes.
Ms. Harwick was pronounced dead at 3:26 a.m. on the 15th of February, right?
I believe so.
And when you arrived at 2086 Mound, you were aware that she had passed.
Yes,
Upon arrival, each detective checked in with Officer Garcia, who maintained the crime scene log, right?
Relevance and
Sustained.
The prosecution, Mr. Avila, asked about the crime scene log specifically on direct.
I may well be, but I'm sustaining the objection.
All right, so paramedics had moved things in the patio area when they arrived prior to you, right?
foundation.
Do you know, sir?
I don't know. It was
Okay.
all done before I was there,
Sustained.
whatever was done.
You don't know if paramedics moved the patio furniture?
He doesn't know, counsel. If it was moved, he can't say whether the paramedics or police officers that did it. Do you know?
No,
Okay.
You didn't review body worn of the responding officers?
I did.
I would object as to the point of the question.
All right. Ask your next question.
So the point is, you don't know exactly what was moved and how in the prior to your arrival.
Correct.
You interviewed Robert Koshland on the 15th of February, 2020 at 10 a.m.
Yes,
He told you about Ms. Harwick's Google Nest cameras in this interview.
yes.
I have a number of photographs that I'd like to introduce that I previously marked, or actually I marked the numbers, but what's the next in order?
Good. You. I didn't want to say double U because it sounds like the letter, so it's you.
Okay, it's 13 photographs
13.
that I'd like to be marked as
1 through 13.
UU 1 through 13. Showing them to the prosecution. Yeah, that's all. No, they're not. It's from it's their visitors. Okay. Can you just please briefly look through these and just look up when you're done? If I can remove that. So, yeah.
It's okay. I think I've seen that photo before.
All right. So did you recognize all of those photos?
Yes.
And these are photos that were taken on the 15th
Yes.
of February. All right. So publishing UU13. All right. So this is a picture of the balcony that's off of Miss Harwick's bedroom, right?
Yes.
This is UU12. This is just the other side of the balcony, right?
Yes.
UU11. This is the left side of the balcony looking down towards the patio.
Yes.
UU10. Also at the left corner, looking down at the patio
Yes.
from the balcony, right?
From the balcony. Yes, sir.
And there's some foliage, right? There's some leaves from the tree right there.
Yes.
And the tree, the branch and the leaves actually kind of come through the railing a bit, right?
Looks like it comes to the railing. Yes.
UU9. This is just also from that corner, right?
Yes.
UU8. This is a different angle of the railing, right?
Of the railing, the left side railing. Yes.
UU7. Same corner, but just a different angle, backed up a little bit, and there you can see some of the branches and foliage coming through the railing, right?
Yes.
UU6. Just a different angle, same balcony, right?
Yes.
UU5. That's the right corner.
Yes.
UU4. Also right corner.
Yes.
UU3. Middle.
Yes.
UU2. And that's the left corner again.
Yes.
And UU1 is the view of the balcony from the bedroom.
Yes. Through the French shores. Yes.
Mr. Pursehouse was arrested on the 15th of February, 2020, right?
Yes.
And he posted bail.
Yes.
And on the 19th, you and Detective Carranza met with Mr. Avila and another attorney, right? On the 19th of February.
Yes.
And the prosecution filed the case, right?
Yes.
And a court order was obtained authorizing
Objection
bail.
relevance found in 352.
Just sustain.
I haven't even asked my question.
But your order was obtained for his arrest. Was that what we're doing?
Authorizing the bail bonds company to provide GPS tracking.
Okay, sustained.
All right. He was arrested on the 19th again, right?
Yes, he was rearrested, yes.
And when he was rearrested, he was being detained at a location by the bail bond agent.
Objection relevance.
Sustained.
On direct, you testified that the diameter of what you believe to be urine was 3 feet wide.
Yes, I did say that on direct.
Okay. Now, nowhere in your notes does it say anything that it was that large, right?
I don't think so.
Nowhere in your investigative report does it say that it was 3 feet in diameter, right?
I don't believe so.
Nowhere in your closeout report does it say that it was 3 feet in diameter.
Objection asked and answered.
Well, he's referencing different reports. Did you indicate that anywhere in any report that you may have generated?
No, I don't believe I
Okay.
did.
So your testimony today was the first time that this fact had been uttered.
I may have opined that position previously.
On direct, you testified that at 1:27, on the night of the February 15th, that the exterior crime scene log was created.
Yes,
And you testified on direct that it was because there had been a homicide,
yes,
but she wasn't pronounced deceased until 3, I think,
Objective.
26 a.m.
Argumentative.
Overruled.
Oh, so
She hadn't been,
she had not been pronounced dead
so she
yet,
was still alive at 1.
but the log
27.
was created at 1:27. Yes, you can create a log for whatever you want to create a log for. It doesn't necessarily have to be because of a homicide.
Well, I'm only asking you about that because on direct you said that it was created because there had been a homicide, but there hadn't been a homicide
I'm
at
gonna
that point in
object,
time.
misstates the testimony.
Does that mistake what you stated?
Yes,
Okay. Sustained.
You completed and submitted a request for serology and DNA analysis on the 16th of February at 8 in the morning, right?
yes,
And you requested that the substance in the syringe be tested, right?
yes,
So generally speaking, when investigating a potential homicide, if you want different kinds of testing done on physical evidence, you can ask the Forensic Science Division to run a wide variety of tests, right?
Vague as to what type of evidence.
Well, he's talking in general terms. Are you
Yes.
talking about blood or what are you talking about?
In general terms, yeah, I think my question was clear.
Well, was it for blood or was it for, in this case, syringe? I'm not sure.
I'll ask it again.
Okay.
Generally speaking, when investigating a homicide, if you want different kinds of testing done on physical evidence, you can ask the Forensic Science Division to run a variety of tests.
Vague as to different types of testing, different materials.
Can you dictate what tests should be run, whether fingerprints or serology or anything like that?
yes. I would make a request
Okay.
for whatever it is I'm looking for.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's all I'm trying to.
Okay, we got there.
And if they can't do it, then they can contract with other agencies to perform the test, typically, right?
Objection foundation.
Sustain. He can order the test. He doesn't know what they're able to do with it after that. Who makes that decision?
Well, no, if he says, like in this case,
Ask
like
it. Go ahead.
in
Ask
this
the
case,
expert.
let's do an as applied. In this case, the Forensic Science Division's test of the substance in the syringe showed the preliminary test showed possible nicotine, right?
Do you know that?
I don't think that's correct.
Is it? Do you know that at
Well,
all?
I'm sorry, Your Honor. Well, I made the request to find out what the substance was in the syringe.
Right, and
And
then they
Let
ran
him finish. Let him finish.
and then it came back non-narcotic, and then I believe there was a line that said possibly nicotine.
Right. The report said no controlled substances, right?
No narco, I believe is the way they phrased it.
No narco. All right. Like there are controlled substances. There are controlled by the DEA.
I don't know about the DEA.
All right,
but
Council, let's move on.
Okay. But in that report, there was also paperwork that showed that there was a test that showed the possibility that there was nicotine, right?
I would just say that in the lab report that I got back, it did have a line about nicotine.
And so in this applied situation, the forensic science division wasn't able to then run the confirmatory test, right?
Just a foundation.
All right, were you going to say correct?
I was.
Okay, so he says correct. What's your next question?
Well, and Mr. Avila asked an entire line of questioning about sending it to the FBI and the lab.
Sustained. Go ahead and ask your next question. Okay, so he says correct. Go ahead.
And so because the LAPD couldn't do that final confirmatory test, then you made the decision to send the syringe to the FBI for them to do it, right?
Yes.
So what I'm trying to get at is that the type of test that you run depend on the evidence. It's a case-by-case situation, right?
Yes, it's sustained. I mean, are you talking about the type? That's unclear, whether it's the type of test that you run versus the type of test a lab is capable of running. In this case, the lab was incapable of running a nicotine test. So I'm not sure where you're going with it. So
well, and then the detective had to make a decision. Okay, what do I do? They couldn't confirm the nicotine.
right,
So
he sent it to the FBI. Right.
And so that's an example of how.
Well, I'm gonna,
Let him finish. Go ahead.
That's an example of how, in a case-by-case situation, you have to decide, as one of the investigating detectives, what to do and how to solve these problems. Right?
Again, under 352, in this case, he decided to refer to the FBI. What happens in other cases, it's not relevant to this case. Suffice it to say that he made a decision to refer to the FBI. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, let's move on.
You had the syringe swab for DNA.
Yes.
On the 24th of September 2020, you transferred item 42, Ms. Harwick's laptop computer to the Cybercrimes Division. Is that correct?
I don't know if I did that or my partner did that, but it was done.
Okay. Would it refresh your recollection to look at the document showing the transfer?
Sure.
If you could just briefly review the document and look up when you're done. Did that refresh your recollection?
Not completely, but I see my signature on the checkout there.
And you transferred a number of items, but I'm only really asking you about item 42, which is a laptop. And you transferred it. And you signed the piece of paper that you were the one transferring it, right?
Checking it out of property. Yes. I'm sorry. Sometimes I'm not really clear on your question. By the way, the terminology that you're using, transferred. If you're asking, did I physically move that computer from point A to point B, or did I initiate getting this computer out of our property so it could be moved? So I did. I checked it out. Yes. But I don't recall that I'm the one that physically took it from LAPD custody to wherever it went to.
You didn't walk the laptop over physically.
Right, correct.
Okay, I use the word transfer because this document's called transfer list.
Correct.
Right, and transferring a piece of evidence from one location to another, it's important to establish chain of custody, right?
Correct.
Miss Bernstein-Lev and an investigator from the public defender's office requested to view and photograph pieces of evidence, right? That had been booked, right? Do you recall that?
I believe so.
And then you made various pieces of evidence available to them, right?
Okay, yes.
And you were present when they photographed that evidence, right?
I don't have a real clear recollection of that event. I'm sorry.
You don't recall Miss Bernstein-Love and a big guy, investigator, coming by and taking photographs of pieces of evidence?
I don't have a real clear recollection of that. I don't. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just saying I don't have a real clear recollection of that event 3 years ago or whatever it was.
You learned in the investigation in this case that Miss Harwick had these Google Nest security cameras inside
I'm
of
gonna
her home.
object. Foundation.
Well,
I'll withdraw it.
okay, all right. You can answer.
Yes,
And you learned the location of those cameras as part of your investigation, right?
yes.
And did you document the location of the cameras?
I don't believe I did.
Okay. There was one in the living room, right?
I remember that one, yes.
One in the kitchen, right?
I don't remember.
One upstairs.
I don't remember.
And Miss Harwick's housemate, Michael Herman, told you that they existed, right?
Yes,
And that they collected audio and video, right?
No,
Yeah.
just a hearsay, unless it's for impeachment or something.
A piece of communication was provided to him that then affected what he did afterwards.
Did you do anything because of what Mr. Herman told you? I mean, I take it that after he told you that, you tried to secure the camera footage or whatever?
yes,
Okay, I'll allow it.
And similarly, Robert Caution told you that you needed to get the footage from the cameras, right?
yes,
And the first responding officers told you that they had seen notifications on her phone from her Google Nest account, right?
first responding officers.
The officers,
You said that?
the officers who first arrived at 2086 communicated to you that they had seen these notifications on her phone from Google Nest.
I don't recall that.
What's the next in order, Your Honor?
You are at double V.
Or wait, is it double W? Oh, wait, no,
Double
it's
V.
Okay. I'm excited for double W.
You're excited for that? It's BB.
All right, so this is just a single photograph, publishing VV. Now, zooming in, is that circle, that black looking circle in the corner of the living room, one of the Google Nest cameras?
Yes,
You're familiar with a preservation request, right?
yes,
And a preservation letter requires organizations like Google to preserve copies of records pending the legal process, like search warrants, right?
yes.
And there's actually a federal law requiring these companies to comply, right?
I'm not familiar with federal law.
And you personally did not send Google a preservation request, right?
No, I did not.
To your knowledge, no one who was investigating the case sent Google a preservation request.
Don't know.
Let me ask you, counsel, just for housekeeping purposes, how much longer do you have?
I'm not going to finish in the next, 5 or 10 minutes.
Okay, can you finish in 10 minutes?
No.
Well, how much longer do you need?
I think probably that at this pace, I think a half hour, 40 minutes.
Okay, we're not gonna finish. Your witness has to be here, unfortunately for Mr. Masterson.
I think he's gonna have to talk with me later.
Sorry. I apologize for that. Where you headed back?
Tennessee?
Oh, I'm sorry. That's not gonna happen. They're not gonna finish in time. So you want them back at 9:30 on Monday?
Yes.
Apologies.
Sorry, sir.
I understand.
Okay, you are excused. You can. Ladies and gentlemen, have a safe weekend. Try to stay healthy. We'll see you on Monday at 9:30.
Hey, thanks for watching with me. Hit that like button, please. And I'm going live in 15 minutes with the Los Angeles press conference. I'll see you there.